about the second week, third week of March, I get a phone call and they asked me would I be interested in the job. Now, you've got to realise that at 8-year-old, my first memory of watching the game was 1963 at Watershedings, Australia playing against Oldham. You couldn't move. My dad sat me on a wall right directly behind the post at the scoreboard end, and Oldham got beat 12-2 that day. Mike Elliott actually played in the game, and I thought, I died and gone to heaven. You know, it just doesn't get any better than this. Smethers, Dyson, Charlie Bott, Taylor, and bearing in mind the history that the game had in Oldham, and they're asking me now to coach my town team, and it meant so much to me. Everybody wants to play for their hometown team. Kevin, I'm being asked to coach you. I said, yeah. And they were pragmatic enough. They said, look, we don't think we've got the squad. A few players sort of left and things like that, and they didn't want to be in the environment where it was going to be a dogfight every single week for them. They wanted to get a little bit of success, and I understand that. And David Best was one of the people that I brought in short term. We brought in a fair few. And retrospectively, he said, I've never enjoyed a season and I've never learned as much as I did in that year. Every single game, we went out thinking that we've got this. With the exception of two, we got a bum smacking at Hulkyar away, and we got a bum smacking at Widnes away. But every other game, at the 60, 65, 70 minute mark, we were never more than one or two tries out of it. And in some of the games we were leading, we just didn't have the ability to be able to hold on. Never won a game all year.
Very difficult. 18 league losses on the trot.
18 on the loss. And it followed my final year in France, where I never lost a game. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. That's arrogance. Where we never lost a game.
How did you deal with that as a coach then? Because there was
I learned more about myself.
Turnover of lads as well, wasn't there, to keep the spirit in the team?
I learned more about myself as a coach that year than I ever did in any other season. It's easy to bask in the glory of results and success. As a coach, you point the finger at yourself first. When you point the finger at other people, what you've also got to remember, Kevin, is 3 fingers are coming straight back at you. And at every single training session the players turned up, they gave 100. I could never ask for more than what they gave. And to be fair, I think we kept 85% of that squad. And we added about 6 players. Roden would have been one of them. Ian Hudson would have been another. I think Alan Adcroft might have been one. 2 Bobs, who were new from previous.
Well, you just mentioned Neil Roden. So yeah. Neil Roden came back and you made him captain, didn't you? How
Initially, I made him captain.
How important a recruitment was he? And another lad, Jason Bolts, who ended up doing incredible appearances in competitions.
There were a lot of people. I needed leadership off the pitch as much as I needed leadership on it. And I'd actually coached Neil before. I coached him at Lancashire under-19s, professional. He had standards which I hope that the others would aspire to. And the other one that I brought in was 2 Bobs, Rob Roberts. Now, Rob Roberts was, 1, he was physical. 2, he was a larrikin and needed to be kept on a real tight lead. But he was driven for success. He was He'd played Super League at Halifax, Leeds, Hull, Huddersfield. He was a quality player. You just knew how to handle him. And because of the change in philosophy that I'd had, I knew that I could handle him. And we got through to the grand final that year. Personally, I thought that we were the best team in it. The problem is that we had the smallest squad.
And that was a season where Rugby League Raw were following. You had a couple of really good wins in the run-up, didn't you? Swinton and Barrow, two impressive performances.
We took Swinton apart at home, and then we went to Barrow, and Barrow had splashed a lot of money out. A lot of money. Mick Cassidy was playing there, and they had a few Australians. Mike Smith, who played for Hull KR, he was there as well. And we went up, I think we beat them something like 28-6. But the problem is there was a trade-off. We lost Byron Ford for the grand final. Well, we didn't lose him. We actually named him in the team. He'd done the test with the physios on the night before. But he pinged his hamstring again in the final. I'm 20 minutes into the game, 20 minutes into the final. 5 of the team that started the semi-final is out injured. You're down to one man on the bench. And
Other big players that year, Adam Hughes is coming in the centre.
Yep.
Lucas Onyango.
Yep.
That was a strike partnership, wasn't it?
Oh, mate. Husey was a class Super League player. Mate, he could destroy teams literally on his own. And I was heartbroken when he didn't sign the year after. But he's entitled to demand a certain amount, and if you get it, you get it. If another club's offering it, your choice is either I pay him and we can keep him, or no, you go there, good luck to you, and we'll look for somewhere else. That's what we did.
And money, clearly, a key component here, because that first season when you went in, we skipped past it, but the club was in real financial crisis.
100%.
Lucky to survive.
100%.
You were pulling in lads from Saddleworth Rangers and St Anne's to help you through. Despite that, as Dave says, the lads had an incredible camaraderie.
100%.
But then was Bill Quinn come in, the finances were different that next season, and you could attract some players?
Well, we could attract, but we couldn't get. Bill came in, but you can't buy success. The one thing that we had is we had a philosophy in the club, we had standards within the club, and those standards were put in place when we never won a game. We didn't chase wins, we chased performances. I remember when we used to do the videos, players would be filthy on themselves if we won 42-10, not because we conceded 10 points or we only scored 43 or something like that. It would have been some of the personal goals that they wanted to do. We had Paul O'Connor. Paul O'Connor averaged 32 support runs per game. If he went to 25, 26, he would have been filthy on himself. And it wasn't because if I don't run more support runs, we could have perhaps. It wasn't. We never chased scores. We always chased performances. And I liked our discipline. You know, we were one of the least penalised teams in the competition.
So you had a really good run, but fell at the final hurdle. Did you, 2008 then, you start that season or preparing for that season with renewed determination, I guess?
Well, they had a pre-season competition, if you remember rightly. It was the Northern Rail Cup. And I remember, I think it was the third game. We played Salford at home on a Friday night at Boundary Park. They were full-time. They had Robbie Paul, Fitzpatrick, who's the CEO at Warrington. They were stacked. They were a gun team. And we beat them. And we didn't only, Saeed Tanga took them apart, but we didn't only beat them, we embarrassed them. I think we beat them something like 18-6. But the physicality of the game took its toll on us. And from then up to the playoffs, we never had more than 13 players who were able to train until at least the captain's run.
Right. So
throughout the entire
tough
season.
season then.
Yeah.
You mentioned Saeed, kind of a super sub, wasn't he?
Oh,
That's
Saeed.
how you used to.
Saeed was really explosive in both senses. He was one of these, if you're playing against Saeed Tanga, one, you needed to know where he was in the defensive line, because if you can do, you'd want to go on someone's on the inside shoulder of the defender on his inside, or the outside shoulder of the defender on his outside. Because if you ran in his lane, he'd bash you. And two, you needed to know where he were when he carried, because he had a carry with a natural lead and a natural knee lift into contact. So if you didn't get your technique right, you were on a loser again. So he was great for bursts. So last 15 minutes, first 10 minutes of the second half, and then the last 10 minutes of the second half. That would have been perfect for him.
And that 2008 season, you lose Adam Hughes, you pick up Mick Danning,
Yep.
and also recruit a fair few lads with Super League experience, Darryl Cardis,
Yep.
Simon Baldwin. So,
Yep.
And are you thinking, obviously injuries took their toll, are you thinking we can kick on here then?
Again, in the same season, we were the best team. By a million miles, we were the best team. In all competitions, you get to the playoffs and you ask for one thing and one thing only. Is everybody healthy? And we had a couple of people who weren't. And in the semi-final, Neil Rowland went down and it changed everything. We had Ian Hudson, who used to play loose forward, which gave us a bit more of an expansive game. And Ian Hudson had to play 6. So it takes a kicking game away from us. It takes a leadership role away from us. And it meant that we had to change slightly our style of football to play more up the middle than we wanted to do, because we didn't have the 3 pivots on the pitch that we wanted. And we got beat by Doncaster, who were a very, very good team and well coached.
You described that defeat at the time as the most disappointing moment of your career, and it was
It was at the
was
day.
the end of your
It was on the day.
Oldham coaching career as well.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sort of sacked. I was at the end of my career, of my contract there. They decided not to renew it. But,
were you accepting of that, or did you feel like you wanted another go?
I thought I probably took them as far as I could do, and I did. I had actually recruited. I'd started recruiting. Dave Allen came in. He'd already signed for Oldham. Thomas Coyle had actually signed for Oldham. I can't remember. I think I'd signed about 3 or 4. And they'd signed because I was there, but top and bottom line is that you're going to Oldham, you're going to Oldham. If the coach is not there, we should be good enough to do the job.
And considering how important it was to you when you took that job on, how do you now reflect on your three seasons essentially as Oldham coach, doing that job?
Mate, I loved every single minute of it. It gave me so much pleasure. I coached 2 games which were televised on Sky, where we had in excess of 4,000. I think it was one of them against the Welsh
Celtic Crusaders.
Crusaders.
A big comeback in that.
Yeah, in the curtain raiser to the first ever Magic Weekend in Wales. We were sort of the lambs to the slaughter, because they had a gun team. They were coached by an Australian coach. They brought in something like 8 or 9 Australians, and they were being teed up to get up into Super League. And we went down and spoiled the party. Yeah.
That was a good day.
Oh, yeah. Some of the best moments I've ever had were at Oldham, without a shadow of a doubt.
Who'd you pick out as some of the best players you had when you coached at Oldham?
Neil Roden, James Coyle, Rob Roberts. And then you start looking at people who didn't necessarily have an impact in the game of their. Most people tend to watch the game as a spectator, I find. I do. And I watch the game critically. Coyle could go through a game and he'd probably do 50 to 60 metres running. But Coyle had a great skill of making other people play better around him. So he didn't have to play brilliant himself. His role was to take us around the park and make other people look good. And he was happy with that. Now, if he wasn't making 40, 50 metre breaks, people in the stand are thinking, well, Coyley's done nothing today. He's not doing anything. That wasn't his role for me. And Two Bobs, I actually made Two Bobs the captain the year after, which I thought was one of the smartest moves I've ever made in my coaching career, because it put responsibility onto his shoulders. And he was the type of person who led from the front, but he then had to lead from the front in training. So off the park and under the eyes, he had to change his demeanour.
And that goes back to your early lesson of understanding the people.
Of coaching the person, yeah. I have people now who contact me and they call me Dad. From the Two Bobs text me last week, how's things, Dad? You know, I just have so many happy memories.
Well, when Neil Roden was inducted into the Hall of Fame recently, he said you, alongside Mike Ford, you were one of the most influential coach on him. Very demanding, he said, but brought out the best in your players. Did you consciously have high standards and challenge people?
I wanted people to have high standards for themselves. Don't be happy with where you are now. Don't be happy with 5% or 55%. If it's 2% that you need to get where you were, then get that. But then start the process to get better the day after, and then the day after. Every day you have to. I'm attracted to rugby league because it challenges every single fibre across the spectrum of a human being. There's the physical contact, both sides of the ball. There's the discipline needed in it. There's the toughness needed in it, physically and mentally. And if you're not giving the best version of yourself, then you're underperforming. And if you're giving the best version of yourself, then you've got to work harder to make sure that you raise that bar and continuously raise that bar. And that's why I challenge people like Neil Roden. Neil Roden was a great player. Why not be even greater?